Coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, the Raiders win another game in walk-off fashion, the third time they've done it this season, this time in a way I've never seen ever before in the history of football, not just the NFL, but the history of football. Of course, we'll talk about the game. We'll hand out game balls, and also we'll take you inside the Raiders locker room. It's all coming up on a loaded Monday edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, December 19th, 2022.
Just win. Just win. Just win. Just win.
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won. And won. And won. And won. And won.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen each and every day. Remember, you can find the show Locked On Raiders podcast free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Thanks to my man Ari, who's been doing a fantastic job. You can always hit him up on Twitter at Ari Produces and shout him out, give him a couple tips, or even just say, hey, man, we appreciate you getting the show up on YouTube. He does a great job each and every day, so we definitely appreciate Ari and his efforts. Today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast is being brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs to help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. And plenty to get to on today's show as the Raiders win the game 30-24. And it's funny, I know there's only two halves in a game, but it felt like the game on Sunday was really three halves. It felt like there was the beginning, the first half where the Raiders were up 17-3 when they went into the locker room. Then the second half where it felt like they were totally collapsing. It was going to be another Raiders loss. And then all of a sudden, when they walk it off and they win it, again, I know it's impossible to have three halves, but that's exactly how it felt. The Raiders win the game 30-24. And honestly, it's so funny. I thought that we were going to be talking about the failures of the offensive line, the failures of the offense in the second half. Just thought we were going to be talking about a bad game, right? A bad day to have a bad day for the Silver and Black, like we've seen so many times throughout the course of the season. But to their credit, they played all 60 minutes and then some to pick up that victory on Sunday and improve overall to 6-8 on the season. And they still keep their playoff hopes alive. I mean, they're mathematically still part of it. I'm not really worried about that. I'm just glad they were able to pick up a victory in the way that they did it, a victory that the Raiders needed as a team. And it was a victory that Raider Nation needed as a fan base following that Thursday loss to the Rams. And I'm telling you, it felt like it had been so many games since that, or so many days since that Rams loss on Thursday Night Football. It was great to see those guys back out there on the field, of course, at Allegiant Stadium, and then to see them pull off a victory that way. It was just, like I said, it felt really good for the players. I was excited for the players and definitely excited for the fans that were in Allegiant Stadium. And on Sunday, I mean, if you're watching the game on TV, I'm sure you heard Allegiant Stadium was very loud when it came to the Patriot fans that were there. There was a ton of Patriot fans in the house, and they were loud and proud, making it, at times wonder whose stadium you were in. And it's one of the few times that I've said that so far, but the Patriot fans were definitely there in boatloads, it felt like, right? I mean, they were, like I said, loud and proud, but they left the game pretty silent following. So just a hell of an event, a roller coaster affair, and the Raiders came out on top this time, where normally these kind of games, it felt like, especially this season, they were always coming out on the wrong end of it. But because of some crazy, wild things that happened in the last really half of the quarter, the Raiders come away with the victory. First, Derek Carr hits Keelan Cole on a touchdown pass that was very controversial. Looked like Keelan Cole's foot might have been out. I thought from my press box view that he was out. I even tweeted out, looks like this one's going to be overturned, but there wasn't enough physical evidence. It is just that easy, just that simple. It was called a touchdown on the field, and they didn't have enough video evidence to overturn it. If it had been called incompletion on the field, it would have stayed incompletion. Since it was called a touchdown, boom, there it was. A touchdown. I know there's a bunch of pictures out there that look like, his foot is clearly in, but it's also because his cleat is black. He's got the black and white Nike Air Force Ones on, and the black part of that kind of blended in with the end zone as well. So good thing that he had the black cleat on, because it might have been ruled something differently. But it's about time that the Raiders came out on the right end, or that end of a call by the officials, because more times than not, as we all know, the Raiders don't come out on that end of it. But that ties up the game. That allows the Raiders to tie the game with the extra point by Daniel Carlson. And then Everyone thinks the game's going into overtime as the Patriots got the ball with 30 seconds left. And then all of a sudden they decide that they're going to run the rock with Ramondre Stevenson, gets a nice little run. For some reason, instead of him going down, he flips it back to Jacoby Myers, who decides he's going to run backwards 20 yards, which made no sense. And then he's going to throw the ball to Mac Jones, except for the fact that it never makes it to Mac Jones. It makes it to Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones gives him the stiff arm, the big face, tells Mac Jones, sit your tail down, and I'm going to take it to the house. End of game, set, match. I even talking about it right now, still can't believe what I saw. But here was the call from Raiders play-by-play voice Jason Horowitz and Lincoln Kennedy as the game unfolded at the end on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium.
Mac Jones hands it off on a draw to Ramondre Stevenson, breaks out of a tackle at the 50, has the 45, breaks away from another tackle, pitches it backwards, and now Jacoby Myers spinning around. He throws it to Chandler Jones in midfield, and a stiff arm. Chandler Jones racing towards the end zone. He scores! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
I can't believe what I just saw.
Again!
I can't believe what I just saw. This is unbelievable. Wow!
On the first night of Hanukkah, it's a miracle in Las Vegas.
So there it was right there. That was the radio call from Jason Horowitz with Lincoln Kennedy on the call. Compass Media, got to credit them for that. But a hell of a call for Horowitz. I sent him a text message. He sent me a text message following the game. Couldn't believe what he saw. And I couldn't, still, even talking about it, still can't believe what I saw. And that's how I felt after the Rams lost on Thursday. The loss to the Rams on Thursday. I felt like I can't believe what I saw. I feel the same way about a victory. So, it happens on both sides. But again, it's glad to see the Raiders come out on the right side of things. Want to go over the numbers real quick for the game for the Raiders. Derek Carr, very pedestrian day, 20 for 38, 231 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns and an interception, sacked 3 times, and that interception was actually a pick 6, a really good play. You just got to give Kyle Duggar a lot of credit for reading the screenplay and screen pass to Devontae Adams and took it straight to the house. It wasn't a very long pick 6 because they were in the shadows of their own end zone, but Kyle Duggar just read it, picked it, and scored a touchdown. So that was the one interception, but man, that was pretty costly to start off the third quarter. Josh Jacobs had another good game, 22 carries, 93 yards. Keelan Cole, as mentioned, 2 catches, 50 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown catch at the end of the game was what mattered the most. Darren Waller in his return, 3 catches, 48 yards and a TD. And Mac Hollins, 4 catches, 40 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams, not a very big game for him. We all knew Bill Belichick would do his very best to take the best weapon that the Raiders had out of the game, and he did. And you got to give the Patriots and their defense a lot of credit. Adams only had 4 catches for 28 yards on 9 targets. And really, it's funny, James Jones was sitting next to me in the press box on Sunday, and he kept saying, the throwaways. Derek Carr had a lot of throwaways, and they were going towards Devontae Adams, and he said, that's going to go down as a target towards Adams. That's not really a realistic target because it wasn't really a ball that he could even catch. It was thrown out of bounds, but since he was the nearest receiver, it's going to go down as a target for him. So really, Devontae Adams only had about 5 real targets, and he had 4 catches for 28 yards. Again, the penalties were a problem. The penalties, the Raiders shot themselves in the foot with penalties time after time after time. 13 penalties, 90 yards, a bunch of false starts, a bunch of delay of games, illegal formation. Of course, there's holdings, but there's just so many that are just unforced mistakes, just shooting themselves in the foot. Like 3 delay of games. You can't have that. Three or 4 false starts, holding. I'll tell you what, the offensive line was a struggle. It had been getting better, but Alex Bars went out, so he didn't play in the game on Sunday. He'd already been ruled out prior to the game. So Ronas Grasu got to start. He looked like a backup at best. He didn't look very good. And then Dylan Parham went out during the game, and Jordan Meredith had to come in, and he didn't look very good. He picked up a couple penalties as well. The offensive line, especially in the second half, it looked like Josh McDaniels didn't have any confidence in that offensive line, and he was just trying to get out of there any way he can. The offense basically was non-existent in the second half, and I really do believe a ton of it had to do with the offensive line. I know some people didn't like the play calling by Josh McDaniels, but again, I don't think he trusted the offensive line. It's really that simple. They couldn't protect Carr. He had to scramble and throw the ball away a ton of times. It did not look good. And again, he had 3 sacks on the day, but he probably was pressured 9 or 10 times. It just was not a clean game for the offensive line and the Raiders offense in particular, especially in the second half when they just couldn't get anything going. But That's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Kind of news and notes, really kind of a little bit of a breakdown of how the Raiders end up with the victory. Again, it's still unbelievable to say that 30-24 over the Patriots, improve their overall record to 6-8. Coming up in segment number 2, gonna hand out some game balls. Don't have a lot of game balls to hand out, but I do have a couple. We'll do that after I let you know about the Locked On Raiders podcast and the fact that it is being brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp Therapy Online. I know a lot of Raider fans will joke a lot of times and say that after a Raider game, sometimes that they need someone to talk to or they need some therapy, they need some better help. But in reality, a lot of us need some better help and some therapy and someone to talk to because real life happens. And I'm not talking about football games. I'm talking about real life. And I feel like every one of us has had a time or many different times where they all of a sudden felt like it's just you're overwhelmed and you don't really know what to do. You don't know what direction to go. You don't know who to talk to, or maybe you don't have anyone to talk to. Well, that's where BetterHelp can help you get back where you need to be because everyone deserves to feel their best. BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. They are the world's largest therapy service. They've matched millions of people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. All the benefits of in-person therapy, plus it's more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist, and if things aren't going right, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It can't be any simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searches for the right therapy or the right therapist. All you got to do is get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. I also want to tell you about the title sponsor of today's show, which is LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. And these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available all the time. All you got to do is create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and who you'd like to hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Like to give out game balls after a Raider victory. And since they did pick up the 30-24 win over the New England Patriots, want to go ahead and roll out a couple game balls that I want to hand out to a couple of players that I think are very well deserving. And I don't think it should be a surprise who's going to get them. There's a few different people that I thought about, but at the end of the day, I decided just to narrow it down to 2 guys, and it's 2 guys that came up with the biggest plays of the game. First, Keelan Cole. He had the touchdown catch that led to the game-tying extra point by Daniel Carlson, even though it was a controversial catch. I got to give Keelan Cole a lot of credit. He only had 2 catches on the day for 50 yards in that touchdown, but a guy who doesn't get a lot of targets ever makes a play when the play was needed the most, right? I mean, you would not think that on a big-time play like that at the end of the game, you need to tie the game. You're going to go to Keelan Cole in the corner of the end zone. He's going to make a clutch play like that. I always get nervous every time the ball goes towards Keelan Cole. Anytime he's back receiving punts, I get nervous. Anytime he's around the ball, I get nervous. But I have to give him a lot of credit. I can't give the guy no shade because it was a couple times on that last drive leading to the tie game that Keelan Cole came up with some big catches. One, he left his feet and made a catch, and I thought that he could probably just stay up and catch the ball and keep on running, but he didn't. But that's fine. Not a problem, right? I mean, he picked up the first down. He secured the catch. That's all that matters. And then coming up with that big clutch catch in the end zone that led to the Daniel Carlson extra point attempt to tie the game. That was big time. And again, I mean, I know it came with some controversy. And I'll tell you right now, even if he was out, I don't care. I mean, I had Patriot people that I know hit me up, was like, he was out. He was out. And I was like, you know what? If he was out, that's fine. It's about time that the Raiders got a call that went their way, right? I mean, I know the Patriots, of all people, their fans ain't complaining about the officials as many calls as they get. So I was like, man, miss me with all that crying, because Raider Nation's been dealing with bad calls not only all year, but for the longest, right? It's something that I've just become accustomed to, and I'm just like, okay, you just got to overcome that. Well, regardless of what the situation was, again, like I mentioned in segment number 1, since they did make the call of a touchdown on the field. That's why it was so difficult to overturn it, and that's why they ended up standing with it instead of confirming it. They just said it stands, meaning there was not enough physical evidence. But I got to give Keelan Cole, a game ball, and he had a game ball in his hand. He had the game ball in his hand when he was walking out of the locker room, and we got a chance to catch up with him. Matter of fact, you'll hear that conversation coming up in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. But the team definitely gave him a game ball. Again, I just got to give the guy a lot of credit for not being a guy that's very active and going to have a lot of yards and a lot of action throughout the course of the year, but somehow, some way was ready to go and came up with the big catch when needed. And then the obvious, Chandler Jones, the game-winning interception and return to the house. And, the funny thing about that play, that final play, if you go back and look at the replay, Ramondre Stevenson runs through the hole. The guy who dives and misses the tackle is Chandler Jones. If Chandler Jones dives and makes that tackle like he attempted to do, there are no laterals. There is no Chandler Jones interception. There is no Chandler Jones take it to the house, walk-off fashion win. There's none of that. There's overtime. That's exactly what the Patriots thought it was going to be. And then they got out of their own element and went very unpatriot-like, right? I mean, to see the Patriots all of a sudden, Ramondre Stevenson, it was one thing when he flipped the ball back to Jacoby Myers, but to see Jacoby Myers go all the way rogue and decide he's going to run 20 yards back and then throw the ball back, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, especially, again, from a Bill Belichick-led team. Like, that's just something that you don't see happen. But for Chandler Jones, all of a sudden, to miss the tackle, be on the ground, have another offensive lineman from the Patriots pile on top of him, and then he still has the wherewithal to get up, look back at the play, see where Jacoby Myers is, and in his words, and you'll hear him talk in segment number 3 as well, he said, I saw him look like he was about to throw the ball, so I got up and got in position. So even though all this other stuff is going on, he still has his mind in the game and is still aware of what's going on. And one, it just shows you that you can never take a play off because you never know when it's going to be your opportunity to make a huge play. Chandler Jones has had a tough season. He hasn't come up with the numbers that anyone wants him to come up with. He hasn't had the season anyone thought he was going to have, right? I mean, a lot of people, including myself, have criticized him heavily for not being able to come up with the plays when necessary. All his teammates have had his back. All his teammates have said how much he does and how much he, helps out the team where we never get to see that. And then for him to come up with that big play, it was massive. Walk-off fashion. He shed a little bit of a tear when he was walking up the ramp to go back to the locker room. And he'll say that as well. You'll hear that coming up in segment number 3 when we got a chance to catch up with him in the locker room. So I got to give the second game ball to Chandler Jones. It is just that simple. So the two guys that I'm handing them out to, Keelan Cole and Chandler Jones, thought about handing one out to Josh McDaniels just for getting a victory over Bill Belichick. And that meant a whole lot to him, but just hard to give Josh McDaniels the game ball when that whole second half, the offense looked like it was just non-existent. And I know that had a lot to do with the Patriots defense. A couple keys that I had mentioned on Friday, a couple things to look forward to. And hey, the Raiders could win if this doesn't happen and this doesn't happen. The O-line had to protect Derek Carr. They didn't do a very good job of that. And also, they couldn't turn the ball over. And they did turn the ball over and gave up points on it. And the Raiders still found a way to overcome all that. So you got to give them a lot of credit. But the offense to be non-existent in the second half until that final drive when they went down the field and tied it up. And you got to give Derek Carr a lot of credit for that throw that he made to Keelan Cole. I mean, I know I'm just talking about the catch, but that throw was impressive. That was a very tough throw that Derek Carr made to Keelan Cole for the big touchdown that eventually, like I said, tied the game, and then Chandler Jones walked it off. So those are the two game balls I'm handing out for the 30-24 victory over the Patriots. Raiders get it at home. It was nice to get another win at the house and see Raider Nation super excited, super pumped up. And all the New England fans, they left Allegiant Stadium sad. And that's exactly what they should do. If they're going to spend their money, come to Vegas, go to Allegiant Stadium, make them upset for spending that money when they leave with the L. That's what the Raiders need to do more often than not. So hopefully that becomes habit forming. Of course, there's 2 more games at the house. This upcoming week, they'll be in Pittsburgh on Christmas Eve against the Steelers. And then the final 2 games, New Year's against the 49ers and the final game of the season against Kansas City, both at Allegiant Stadium. So they got a couple more times to get opportunities to get wins at home. So that's all I got for you as far as game balls go in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Segment number 3, we'll take you inside the Raiders locker room. Chandler Jones, Keelan Cole. Those are 2 guys that you'll hear from for sure. On maybe Darren Waller. He got a touchdown catch as well in his first game back. So, yeah, how about Keelan Cole, Chandler Jones, and Darren Waller. All three of those guys, not necessarily in that order, you'll hear from coming up in segment number 3 after I tell you about Prize Picks. And Prize Picks, you're probably wondering, what exactly is that? It's daily fantasy made simple. It's something where you pick 2 to 5 players, and they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch: NFL, NBA, NHL, PGA, college football, men's and women's college basketball, everything. The World Cup just got wrapped up. Any sport that's out there, Prize Picks has you. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. You deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On to sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Got a lot of different sound from the Raiders locker room, but I'm only going to hit you with about 3 different players that we got an opportunity to talk to. I mean, we talked to a lot of different guys. We talked to Max Crosby, talked to Nate Hobbs, talked to Hunter Renfrow, talked to Mac Hollins, talked to Chandler Jones, Keelan Cole, Darren Waller, Denzel Perryman, talked to a bunch of different dudes in the Raiders locker room, but I'm only going to hit you with a couple on today's show. And we got to start off with Chandler Jones. I mean, he was the guy that sealed the deal. He is the guy that walked it off. He's the guy that's had a rough season, but he's made some plays in the past few weeks, and no play bigger than the one he made on Sunday when he intercepted the ball in the air, stiff-armed the hell out of Mac Jones, threw him to the ground, gave him the big face treatment, and then took it to the house for the game-winning touchdown. Here's Chandler Jones in the locker room following the game.
How do you describe what the heck just happened at the end of the game there, Chandler?
Well, we were in in a desperado situation where we know that there was zero time left on the clock. And I think I saw Jacoby kind of spotting up to throw it back. And, I was just trying to look for the nearest guy, and Mac Jones was right there. And I kind of just went up there and got it and worked a tackle and scored.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have you ever been involved in a game that ended as wild as that ended?
No.
On any level?
No, I've never. And that was a game. It was a tough game. And we know we were going to have to play more than 60 minutes to beat this team. And like I said, this is a huge win for our team for sure.
As soon as you catch it, you see ahead of you. Are you thinking touchdown or what's going on?
Well, when I caught it, at first I was thinking, who's around me? And I felt myself stumble a little bit after the stiff arm. And then I was thinking, who do I pitch it to? Because I was just trying to, keep the ball alive. And so when I stayed up, I just turned the Jets on, and the rest was history. I would have pitched it.
What did it feel like for you, though, to finish the game off like that in the home stadium and hear Raider Nation lose their mind?
Honestly, I was just trying to catch my breath. When I got in the end zone, I was kind of just standing there. All my teammates kind of was just pushing me in every different direction. I really couldn't breathe. I couldn't see much. And I guess we have won the game. It was wild.
Is there any more significance because it's against the Patriots?
I haven't even thought that far. But when you play against a former team, you never really want to speak about it, but you always have that in your mind, like, I got to get this team. So it does feel a little good that I'll do a little silent brag there. It felt good.
Was that part of your success for the whole day? I mean, even before the last play, it seemed like you were having a real good day. It's some big pressure.
I was just trying to make plays, honestly. Even if it wasn't for me to make that touchdown, I just feel like if I can do something to help us win. And obviously that was a big play, but the pressures, Max, those guys, everyone was just doing very well. And sometimes the stats may not show, but that was a great team win.
And then what's the celebration like? Looked like you were trapped up there against the...
Against the wall. There was no room for a celebration. Like I said, I was trying to catch my breath. I really couldn't breathe, but man, that was a huge win. Thank you.
What was the chatter when they were replaying Keelan's touchdown? What was going through everybody's mind?
We didn't know. Like I said, they kept replaying the replay on the jumbotron, and there was no evidence to kind of overturn it, so we were happy about that.
Chandler, saw you getting emotional on your way off.
Yeah.
Just with everything that's been this season, the ups and downs, just what did that moment alone mean?
Yeah, I definitely did get a little emotional. That's pretty cool that you caught that. I teared up a little bit, but because I just love football. I'm a huge fan of the game. I love the sport. And I think when I started to tear up, I think it had just hit me how big of the play I had made. And it didn't hit me yet. So I was like, you know what, let me take this moment for myself a little bit and drop a few tears.
When's the last time you scored a touchdown? I think that was your first one in the NFL, right?
No, that wasn't my first one. Back when I was on the Patriots, though, I got a blocked field goal, scoop score, touchdown. But it's been a while. Yeah.
Kyle, anything else for him?
Amazing.
Great job. Very well spoken. You guys might need to hire Kyle when he's done playing.
Hero of the day.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys.
So there you go, Chandler Jones right there. You can hear the joy in his voice and the excitement in his voice about being able to make a play and being able to help the team win. And you hear him talk about the emotions that he was feeling when he finally had a second to think about what just happened. So shout out to Chandler Jones. Of course, he was the guy that I gave a game ball to in segment number 2. Another guy I gave a game ball to was Keelan Cole. Again, he was ready. He was available. And, he made the catch when he was called on that led to the tying up of the game when Daniel Carlson hit the extra point. So here's Keelan Cole in the Raiders locker room. And I warn you, before you listen to Keelan Cole, he's a different cat. Right? He's a different dude. I record all these locker room interviews on my phone. I have my phone out about halfway towards him. We're all in a scrum, and he grabs my phone. It's like, oh, I'll hold your phone for you. And then he just has it. I mean, it was really weird, but that's just who he is. He's just a different dude. He has he's got his own beat to his own drum going on in his head. So Keelan Cole used a little bit of expletives in this locker room interview, but of course, I had to clean those up. So here's Keelan Cole in the Raiders locker room following the game.
That last play with Chandler Jones, too, from your perspective.
That was the best receiving play of the whole day, honestly, because that stiff arm's clutch. That's different. Y'all talking about the run and the catch. That stiff arm was it.
Have you ever been part of a game like that ended that wild?
Yes.
With you making the first catch?
Yes.
What game?
Whatever game we won in...
Okay.
Oh, Denver.
Okay, the walk-off.
Come on now. No, I don't remember. I'm just making stuff up. What else we got?
Just talk about the year you've had being in a crowded receiver room and just trying to be ready.
That's a good thing, being in a crowded receiver room, because you get to learn. You don't have to always step forth, and you can depend on somebody else. Who's next?
Keelan, sorry if I missed it, but what's your reaction when they just keep replaying it and it's taking a second to make a decision?
That was my reaction. What the Who's next?
Was there ever a doubt that you ran?
Yes. Who's next?
Where's the ball going afterwards?
That's a good question. Whoever takes it out of my hand when I get where I get can have it. It wouldn't mean nothing to me. It's a football. We'll probably practice with the same ball one day.
Thoughts on the final play?
Oh, Chandler?
Watching the last play.
Oh, I don't even remember past the stiff arm because I was just running towards the touchdown. And then when I got over there, I realized we was kind of packed, and I didn't want to get in trouble for pushing anybody that wasn't on our team or something like that. No offense, I'm just saying. And so I just ran back to the bench and then started shaking people's hands. And then put my clothes on.
What did that mean, though? What did that mean for the team?
Anybody else got some questions?
No, you got my phone.
You right.
You got my phone. I'm going to ask you questions.
I got your phone.
Exactly.
Making sure. You been texting?
No.
What was the question?
On airplane mode.
What was the question?
What did the win mean? I mean, it's a big team.
No, I mean, honestly, if it was the last win of the season, then I would have gave you something nice. But we got more. So, and you see how hard it is for us to get some wins when it comes to crucial situations and such. So I ain't about to sit here and act like it's just gonna be easy to get the last three.
To that note, I mean, what does Coach McDaniels tell you guys in the locker room after this? Like, how does he come up with the words there?
He says good. Yeah, he'd be like, hey, good y'all. Make sure y'all do it again next week. Get ready to go for the next game. That's how he be.
Where would you rank that play in your career? That touchdown?
You late. You said 1 more, 2 more, 5 more ago. No. Exactly. So I could have walked away if I really cared. Where you want to rank it? You got to put plays up there now. Like, I literally be in the league and not just make plays.
So you made a lot of plays in Jacksonville.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really get...
Maybe your number one...
I don't get an option to not make a play type thing. Like, I can't just make a regular play. And I got to actually make a play in order for me to stay.
So anyway. Clutch play, probably number one.
Let's go number one just because it's today. Number one play of my career. It really might be, though. No bullshit. I don't know.
So there you go. Keelan Cole following the game right there. And got to let him talk. If he's going to come up with that big touchdown catch, got to hear what he has to say following the game. And he's, like I said, a different dude, kind of a low-key dude, but at the same time, a goofy dude. So not mad at him. Came up with a big catch. He was available when necessary, and the Raiders needed him the most. Like I said, he came through clutch. So there was Keelan Cole in the Raiders locker room. The final guy I want you to hear from is Darren Waller. He also had a touchdown catch on Sunday in his return. Both him and Hunter Renfrow return to the lineup on Sunday. It's going to be good to see them for the final 4 games of the season, what they could do, how they can help this offense continue to evolve. Devontae Adams wasn't very involved on Sunday, but Darren Waller had some plays. Hunter Renfrow had some plays, and Darren Waller caught a nice little touchdown catch down the seam right before halftime to put the Raiders up 17-3. But here's Darren Waller. Was it 17? No, that put him up 10-3. The Mac Hollins touchdown catch put him up 17-3 before halftime. But either way you look at it, here's Darren Waller in the Raiders locker room talking about the game.
Where would you rank Chandler's receiving skills?
I mean,
Stiff arm? That's pretty special.
soft hands, you know what I'm saying? Great after the catch. I mean, yak is a huge part of this offense, so it's a big play. Yeah, get 55 on the over route, we'll be all right.
Derek, how did it feel to just be back out there today and running routes and being with the team and everything else?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Just being in the environment with the fans and everything in the stadium. I feel like a long time since I had been, especially here, but just playing in the game in general. So it's just good to be in the environment with everybody.
Who were you waving to? Were you waving hello to everybody, or what was the?
I mean, that's probably the people that was that were like, "Where is he at? Why is he dropping music videos? Like, why is he doing all this stuff?" But I was just having fun, you know.
How did you feel you performed today? I mean, it's been a while since you were out there. So.
I feel like I made the most of the opportunities I had. Ran efficient routes. The Patriots are doing a really good job of disguising, so reading the coverage after the snap was a bit of a challenge. I feel like I did pretty well with that for the most part, so what I was asked to do, I feel like I did pretty well.
You guys had a second half where there wasn't a whole lot going on offensively, and then you come up with this big drive at the end. Like, how did you guys muster that kind of out of seemingly nowhere, really?
I mean, it's just having an urgency when you need it, you know. There's not much we can do or go back and change about what happened in the second half. It wasn't what we tried to go out there and put on tape, but when it counted and we needed to have it, guys made plays, and that's really all you can ask for.
You know, I know you said you were having fun when you scored that touchdown, but what did it feel like to get back into the end zone, especially at home?
A lot of fun. Just feel like a party, you know what I'm saying? So have the guys come in with you and just celebrate and have a good time, and everybody saying it's good to have you back. It just feels like family, you know.
What does it say about a guy like Keelan who just stays ready all the time, and when his number's called, makes at the time the biggest play of the game before?
Yeah, it takes a high level of focus. That's a skill I admire in a lot of people, because there's a lot of times in my career where you're not guaranteed consistent opportunities throughout the game, but to stay focused and stay in it and not let your mind drift or get caught sleeping when the opportunity presents itself. It's a very tough mental skill to have. So I respect that in Keelan a lot.
How nerve-wracking was it while they were deciding if it was a catch or not a catch, while they kept reviewing it on the Jumbotron?
I mean, you watch it, but it's like when you're on the field, you gotta like kind of stay in the middle, stay neutral, and be like, all right, well, if his foot's out, let's go make a play. If it's in, then it's up, it's lit.
What'd you think when you saw it?
I mean, the first angle they kept showing, it was like, okay, it looked like he out. But then they showed the second angle. I don't know why they was hiding it so long, but they showed it, and all the grass that came up was inside the white. So I was like, oh, that's lit. He just the top part of his cleat was out of bounds, but it probably just wasn't a stud underneath there. So it was up after that.
There you go.
I assume you guys are probably thinking that it was going to overtime. So when you see the ball go up in the air, when they throw it in the air, what was your thought when you saw the ball like floating around there to the one Chandler picked off? Just as it goes in the air, you're just like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like guys run around and, you just like, all right, whenever this play ends, so let's lock in and get ready for overtime. And then Chan catches it, and it's just like, wait, is there anybody around him? And then he runs over whoever was in front of him, and it's like, it doesn't even feel real at that point, you know?
Have you ever been a part of something like that, or?
I don't think so, no, not even close.
What's Coach McDaniel say, like just coming up with the words? A lot of people just speechless after this. Like, what did he tell you guys?
I mean, just like how, like, as far as, like, leads and everything, like, we've been on the tough end, we've been on the wrong end of those kind of games before, so to have the ball bounce our way, it just feels good, You can call it luck, you can call it whatever, but it looks like a win in the score column.
How would you rate that stiff arm from Chandler?
I mean, good. Great. Well, he took the drill from the practice field to the game.
He was emotional coming off the field. Can you just speak to maybe what he's been through this season, just the kind of guy he is to have a moment like that, and how proud he is?
Yeah, I mean, people have their opinions as far as like sack totals and sack numbers, and and that is what it is. But I mean, Chan is somebody that comes in and works hard. Not only does he work hard, he teaches the young pass rushers the little skills and the little techniques that he has. So I respect how he goes about it a lot. And sometimes the production may not be what you want it to be or what people expect it to be, but you keep showing up, keep being in the right place, and good things are bound to happen. So we love having Chan here.
So there was Darren Waller, Raider Nation, following the game in the Raiders locker room, just talking about the game flow, talking about how it ended, talking about his return, talking about how he was feeling when he scored a touchdown. And, it's good to see him back out there. Hopefully he continues to evolve. Hopefully Hunter continues to evolve and, starts to help this offense grow and be that much more dangerous so we can get a real good look at what it could possibly look like in 2023. So hopefully you enjoyed today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. It's always a lot more fun when you're talking about a win, and it's really a lot of fun when you're talking about a dramatic win. And we really didn't get into too much of the nuts and bolts of the game. We have more time to do that. We'll do that on tomorrow's show. Plus, we'll hear from head coach Josh McDaniels a little bit later on this morning at the Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center. I have more locker room sound that I'll bring to you tomorrow as well. Plus, we'll get back to calls and text off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line. Plenty to get to in the next couple days as we prepare for Saturday's game, Christmas Eve in Pittsburgh, 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Deception, Reception, Incompletion, whatever you want to call it. We know what it is, 50th anniversary of that on Saturday. So I've got plenty of time to get to, recapping the game on Sunday and then preparing for the game on Saturday. So until then, till tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Thank you again for making the show your first listen each and every day. Remember, you can find the show free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Definitely appreciate you. So again, until Tuesday, Raider Nation, just win, baby.